Employing humor in the classroom. Did you hear the one about the two students in an American history class who took off one weekend to go to the beach, had a great time, stayed too long, and missed an important midterm exam the following Monday? They came to school on Tuesday and told the professor that on the way back from their trip Sunday night, they had a flat tire and didn't have a spare. So they had to wait until Monday to get it fixed. The teacher placed them in separate rooms and handed them an exam. The first question was, for 5 points, who was the first American president? They thought, cool, this is going to be easy. Then they turned to the next page. The second question read, for 95 points, which tire? That joke was a favorite of a high school history teacher who used it every year as a means of creating a sense of rapport with his incoming students. He always concluded the joke by saying, "The number one rule in my class is that you show up." The teacher understood, like other great communicators, how humor can be employed as a valuable instructional tool to increase a teacher's effectiveness in the classroom. Dr. Melissa Wanzer, professor of communication studies at Canisius College, explains how humor augments the learning process. She says that humor is mentally arousing, which is related to gaining and holding students' attention, which is related to memory, which in turn is related to learning outcomes. When students look back at a course they have just completed and asked to recall important things they learned, they frequently will recall a joke or a piece of humor that triggers the memory of a piece of information. Knowledgeable educators understand the importance of humor and use it whenever it's possible and appropriate to do so. As an instructional tool, humor can help capture a student's interest in what might be an otherwise boring topic. It can be a tension breaker whenever a potentially volatile situation arises. It can help humanize a teacher and make him or her seem more approachable. And if the humor is directly connected to the subject matter, it makes the study of that subject more interesting and fun. Recent research regarding the use of humor in facilitating student learning has produced the following considerations. Be appropriate. Appropriate humor might be defined as that which might make people laugh but does not offend. Inappropriate humor, on the other hand, humiliates, embarrasses, or degrades. The number one rule of classroom humor is that a teacher should never, ever make fun of a student. Nor should the humor contain any racial, gender, or religious overtones, unless used in a course such as government class to demonstrate the political process. Political humor is risky too, and care must be exercised to ensure that it's balanced and inoffensive. Other categories of inappropriate humor include humor based on stereotypes, swearing to be funny, and joking about serious issues. So what types of humor are appropriate? Many teachers use self-deprecating humor, where the speaker is the object of the joke, to humanize themselves and to connect with students. An algebra teacher might tell her class, "I broke my Crayolas trying to learn the multiplication tables in the 3rd grade. If I can learn this stuff, so can you." Or a history teacher might ask his class, "Does anyone know what Washington said to his men as they were rowing across the Delaware?" Well, neither do I. I don't have a clue, but I do know that it was an important event in the Revolutionary War, and we're going to take a look at it today. One cautionary note is that teachers should not overdo the use of self-deprecating humor. Too much of it can result in losing his credibility. While students may enjoy an occasional good laugh at the expense of their instructor, they will not appreciate him making fun of himself too often. It is also important that a teacher not relegate herself to the role of a stand-up comedian. While humor can help a teacher obtain and maintain interest in a topic, it becomes counterproductive when students begin overlooking the subject material in anticipation of the next joke. As with any effective teaching tool, a smart instructor will avoid overuse. Some teachers like to use humor as an icebreaker at the beginning of each class session. It can help establish a comfortable, relaxed, social-emotional climate that is conducive to learning. Typically, the teacher will get a joke book or collect jokes from the internet and read them to the class. Sometimes, the sillier the better. An example is, can you name the person here at school who is 100% into No Child Left Behind? The bus driver. Delivered with a smile and an accompanying chuckle, the practice can become a trademark of that class, something that the students look forward to and even joke about outside of the classroom. Mr. Stevens always starts out with a stupid joke. We love it. Humor can play an extremely important role in enabling a teacher to deal with inflammatory situations. When tensions are high and tempers are flaring, humor is one of the teacher's best allies in calming things down. It diverts attention from the issue and helps the combatants to save face. Maria and Angela, wait a minute. Put on some gloves and let's get ready to rumble! We'll sell some tickets and make it a class fundraiser. Or everybody can take a deep breath and calm down. Breathe. Well, let's relax and talk this thing through. Another good use of humor is unrelated humor, where midway through a boring or complex lecture, the teacher throws in a joke that has nothing to do with the topic. When a student's mind is dealing with a difficult concept, a little diversion can be helpful. It's like a person stopping to take a water break when he's pounding away on a treadmill. Try to make it relevant. The most appropriate and valuable type of humor is subject-related humor. It can be a marvelous tool in aiding students' retention on the subject material under discussion, as Dr. Wanzer says. While both related and unrelated humor can be effective in the classroom, it is probably a good idea to link the humor to the subject matter when possible. Humorous examples, jokes, or stories can help the student recall the material later. If a student can recall the humor, he or she may also be able to recall the concept or theory that the professor was attempting to illustrate. For example, a geography teacher could ask his class, if an airplane crashed in the Red River, where would the survivors be buried, in Texas or Oklahoma? The punchline, of course, is that you don't bury survivors. Later on, if there's a test question regarding the name of the river that separates the states of Oklahoma and Texas, the students in that class will probably have 100% recall of the correct answer. When you don't think you are funny. If you don't think telling a joke or using humor is your forte, Dr. Wanzer says to be immediate in the classroom. Immediacy is a term used by psychologists to describe a person's actions that foster a sense of psychological closeness with others. Many of the same behaviors that we use in being funny, like smiling, gesturing, changing our voice, or showing relaxed body language, are identical to the behaviors people use in being immediate. And here's the good news for those who consider themselves unfunny. Wanzer claims that a teacher who practices immediate behavior in the classroom will receive similar results as a teacher who uses humor. In fact, immediacy can be even more effective than humor in holding students' attention and stimulating interest in a subject. The best of both worlds, however, is for a teacher to be both immediate and humorous. Some people have a gift for seeing humor in everyday situations. However, if you're not one of those people, by all means, use the humor of others to throw in some interesting light on a given subject. There are a plethora of funny anecdotes, posters, puns, jokes, and other humorous items that can be found on the internet. Cartoons can be an especially effective tool too. You don't have to be a comedian to employ humor. Summing up. As one teacher says, it's time to get serious about being funny. Leading educators are becoming more and more aware of the value of humor as an instructional tool. Research shows that used appropriately, humor positively affects student levels of attention and interest. It can play a powerful role in keeping students engaged and involved with the course material. Content-related humor, in particular, can be extremely valuable as a means of helping students to recall a given lesson. So if the concept is an important one, consider incorporating an element of humor.